flipping over her cactuses. Every single one goes up there. Oh, her cactuses, they're just gorgeous. And she says, what am I going to do with these if I have
All set?
I'm all set.
All right, ready to go.
She goes,
All right, thank everybody for coming on this cold morning. I'd like to ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
"It's lights on our way." I said, that's fine.
All right, board comment.
Comment?
All right, Michael?
Oh, no, actually, I'm on the agenda as a history of blight ordinance.
Okay, all right.
I'll wait for that.
Anybody else?
I have one
All right.
to add. If we can add, to speak about the,
That was board comment, though, so you're on the
board-
agenda.
okay, okay, never mind.
I think we can move ahead, there's nobody
Okay.
has comments.
All right. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the agenda?
Now it's me.
Now you go.
Okay, if we could add, in reference to the short-term rental and the anti-noise ordinance.
Got a lot of blank line there, we can
Speak
put it
about
in.
that.
Short-term rental?
It's hard to hear with the HVAC. Can't hear anything you're saying.
It'll go down in a minute, it's turned off.
Anything else, Pat?
No, that's it.
All right. Anything else?
So we need a motion.
Yep. Need a motion to approve the agenda with an addition.
I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 We had the motion.
Pardon me?
Sorry.
You can make a
All
motion.
right. Public comment. Please limit your comment to 2 minutes. This is not a discussion or a question and answer session. This is strictly public comment, so feel free. Go for it.
You know, I got a comment. Hi, my name's Derek. Thanks for the HVAC. Was there a mistake with the posting of this meeting?
The original meeting got canceled and then yes, I
emailed you
the date
with the
was
date
set,
and you
yes.
replied and said Wednesday.
And then we changed it.
It was on the website.
It was,
It's
yeah.
Thursday, right?
Yeah, it wasn't, in Jim's letter to establish the meeting, to me, it was correct, and I made the mistake on the website.
Okay, I think it'd be cool if you guys, there's a calendar on there too, if you could add it to the calendar, because that also shows up on the very front page, and it shows the next meeting, and it shows the 14th, but if it shows the emergency meeting, that would pop right up, and it'd be like right in your face, so you know,
Okay.
and that way, and it also would be a calendar, so that way you know it's on the right date. And second, I just want to talk about the timing of these meetings. I've spoken about this before, about holding these meetings, both for the planning commission or any meetings during the weekday, during early in the morning. The timing of the township board meetings is crucial for ensuring accessibility and transparency. Holding meetings during the day, especially at times like 10 a.m. on weekdays, can significantly limit public participation and create barriers for many residents. Here's why. Many people have work and school conflicts. Many people can't come here at 10 in the morning. Only that retirees or people who are unemployed are the only people who can come here. There's a perception of exclusion. When you hold these meetings at this in an inaccessible time, the majority of the community can create a perception that you, the board, is not interested in engaging with the public in making its decisions without transparency. If the board holds meetings at the time that limits participation, it might suggest that they are trying to avoid scrutiny or avoid hearing dissenting opinions. Transparency and accountability. Transparency isn't just about the information shared during the meetings, but also about ensuring people have the chance to participate, ask questions, and engage in dialogue. When public meetings are held at convenient times, typically evenings or weekends, when more people are free, they are allowed for broader, more representative range of voices. This increases accountability by showing that the board is open to input from the public. And there's also some legal and ethical considerations as well as community trust, but I will stop there, and I just wish you guys would not hold these meetings at 10 in the morning anymore, especially for the planning commission.
Thank you.
I think I
No,
should.
it doesn't no matter what time you plan a meeting, it can be inconvenient for some people. They have their regular,
7 p.m.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's enough.
Yeah, no cost, that's, take that after the
could be
meeting.
inconvenient for them.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you swapping
That
that.
penny was right on it.
Sloppy. And it was nice it was recorded too.
This film. Yeah.
All right, history of blight ordinance.
Okay, I just wanted to do a little preamble to what we're doing here, okay? Blight ordinance 17, which is that document right there, if anybody wants it. That ordinance was approved by the township in December of 1992. It was unknown to the current board until it served that it even existed, until it surfaced in the fall of 2023. Up until that time, requests for copies of a blight ordinance were met with the reply that we do not have such an ordinance. Supervisor Herzog discovered the document while searching for information in a box of old files. Having been approved by the board, Blight Ordinance 17 is the current ordinance in effect. Today, the Blight Ordinance being reviewed was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission at the December 2nd, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. That's what's being discussed today. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. All right, board review of proposed blight ordinance recommended for adoption by the Township Planning Commission at the December 2nd, 2024 Planning Commission meeting.
Can I say something?
Yes,
Jim?
that's what we're here for.
This is the first time we've had a meeting like this. And this is a meeting where if we have questions, we ask and we talk about it. We're not making any decisions on it today. We're talking back and forth because we can't do that any other time. It has to be public.
It's a workshop, basically,
Yeah,
is
it's
what
a
I should have
workshop.
put on this,
Yeah.
on the thing, special meeting
Yeah.
workshop,
Right.
just like our budget
Oh,
workshop.
okay, so we're not
Making a decision?
making a decision today?
No, we're
No,
not.
we've gotta wait
That would have to
for
go
a
to the
month.
board at
Yeah.
the next meeting.
Okay,
And just for reference, it also has to have a public hearing before the board can adopt it.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to, it's a police power ordinance, so the board has the ability to change it without having to go through these lengthy procedures that we do with the zoning ordinance, okay? The same with the two marijuana ordinances, were police powers. We could make a change by a simple motion, but the original adoption has to be done at a public meeting, okay? So, that just as a clarification, I forgot.
It seems we have two situations in the township. One of them, if we adopt this ordinance, we could put a hardship on several of the residents. They're not in a position to, either for health reasons or other means, able to do anything. The other one is we have some people who probably can, but won't. So
So what's the point?
what's the point?
Yeah.
In my opinion, the township board is here to serve the people, not create a hardship for them.
Okay, but in that, we can talk, right?
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. We don't want to create a hardship, but a blight area is a nuisance or an eyesore, or it bothers other people.
In some cases, it actually could become a health hazard.
Right, and you know, what it's reading in here, a place for children that would draw children in, and maybe, you know, they would be hurt or something. I'm not used to, you know, speaking out like this, but I do have some concerns. If we're gonna have a blight ordinance, we ought to have something we can do about it, not just have this sitting there, you know, oh yeah, we got something, but we don't do anything with it.
And we're limited on how we can assist these people.
Okay, and we need to talk about that. What can we do? If they don't have the money to get a dumpster or something, isn't there some way we can help? And I know it's been said that if we help this one, then this one's gonna want the same thing and this one. So what are we gonna do?
Where do you draw the
So
line?
that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, and you know,
And you just can't go on someone's property and seize what they consider, well, it is their property. We can't just go on there and say, we're gonna clean it up. You can't do that.
Although that's what this says, you
Yeah.
can do. That is actually, all that is in there. It
But
says,
we
yes,
have
you
to do
can.
it through the courts.
You have to do, yes, there's the procedure that has to be done.
Yes, sir.
People are under.
This is not public comment, but any input would be appreciated.
yeah.
Don't get
People are under
involved.
the implication that the township is going on other people's properties. And like, I've heard this from several people. Now, I don't know if your zoning supervisor has permission to do that or whatever, but I think people are a little afraid of that, and they're getting into the, like you say, trespassing. And perhaps maybe these people who are definitely, you know, I mean, that really need help and don't have the income, perhaps you could go look at the taxable value of the properties if they're in rough shape, or maybe their financial incomes themselves, to see who might get help and who may not. It's just a suggestion. Another suggestion I
Sure.
thought about is,
And unfortunately, in the county, there isn't a lot of resources to help. We're one of the poorest counties in the state.
yes,
And we're also one of the poorest townships in the county as far as per capita income and so forth. Yes,
I just have a quick comment, just on the same topic,
Yeah, watch
about
this.
hardships and money and things. You guys brought this topic up 22 months ago at the April 2023 meeting, right? At the Planning Commission meeting. I had just suggested the state of Michigan was giving away $92 million for Blight. Guaranteed $200,000 per county, all you had to do was apply. And I had to ask, I sent FOIA requests, I asked Pat, I sent you copies. Why did we not apply for any grants?
this is not a question and an answer. I wasn't aware of it.
I brought it to your attention at the meeting.
Okay, at that, and
I forwarded it to you, and Michael said he knew about it.
Regardless, we didn't get a grant.
I don't know, why didn't you apply? You see this as a hardship.
Anyhow, we're getting back to the discussion
Yeah,
of this
well,
ordinance.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and when you apply for these grants, it doesn't mean you get them.
These were
You know,
guaranteed.
you're in line, you know, and this is what this is all about. We're trying to figure out what we can do legally so we don't hurt people, you know. But we do clean up areas that, you know, so that's what type of meeting this is.
Even if we had a grant, we
Yeah.
just can't go on people's property.
Okay, I'd like to go forward with what we're doing.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I have, starting with the blight ordinance, I have several questions
Sure.
that you need to look at your ordinance so you know what I'm talking about, so that you can see that. It won't be necessarily in your people's ordinance, because that's the ordinance in effect. We're looking at a draft copy of what the planning commission had sent to us, okay? So the first thing I have is, these are the issues I have with things on the ordinance. On definitions, okay, you got A, term junk includes wood, metal, or other cast-off material of any kind, whether or not the same could be put to reasonable use. So I had brought this up at the Planning Commission meeting as a public comment about the fact that a lot of us have a wood pile, have lumber, we have bricks, we have stuff like that. To get rid of those, because this says that it's blight And then when I have to go out and repair something in my home, I have to go buy new stuff. I can't do that. And I can't imagine I'm the only one in the township, farmers especially, that would have that, would be able to have that. So to use the phrase, I'm not saying that woodpile medevac could be considered blight, all right? And that's the main issue of this ordinance is how is it defined, and that's what's being attempted, and who is defining it, you know? But the idea that I could probably go down the street and find people that have, lumber stacked up against their house, okay? I have mine stacked up against my broken down garage. And if I had to get rid of that because of this ordinance, it's just, they'd have to take me to court to do it.
Okay, so
Go ahead, yes, now it's a back and forth. Now,
Okay,
it's not just
okay.
me bitching about it, it's
Okay.
the thing, but I have a lot of concerns in the
remnants
entire
of metal, of wood, metal, or any other cast-off material, keep on going.
Yep,
If we strike that and put in something like piles of,
something that would define it as actually something that was an eyesore, an unusable. Go ahead.
I think it's a matter of interpretation.
Yeah, that is,
It is,
that is the problem.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and everyone doesn't interpret things the same way.
Yep.
Right.
Your pile of stuff that you keep there so that you can fix your roof or your back room when it leaks may not be the same interpretation of a pile of reusable lumber or materials that someone else has. So how do you,
That
how do you
is the
go
problem with
about
blight.
defining that?
Exactly.
Good point.
right, and I'm sure that as the township or an OEO is not going to say, okay, you've got a small pile there. But if you have 20 of those small piles, put them into one.
So how
You know,
can
that-
we word it?
So I think it's just a matter of using your own common sense on the township board to decide what is blight and what is not. And that is why you have also an OEO to make those considerations
I agree with that.
and the
but-
court system.
I'm sorry, I don't need to interrupt. I agree with that exactly, that's true with some of these other definitions that I'm gonna call out. But if a resident takes this and
Right.
says, it says right here this,
Yes.
that is circumventing the board from saying, actually, the board in the end would have to decide we don't consider that blight. So
Okay.
I don't see any other way to get around that issue, is that's gonna always really happen. Same when we get to the junk car deal. So, it's not really a discussion, this is a workshop, but, okay,
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's a discussion for us, so we can appreciate the.
Sims Township has taken a very aggressive approach to their blight, what they consider blight. Their ordinance enforcement officer is actually told me that he's happy he put some of the residents in jail. I don't like that
We
approach
don't
at
want that at
all.
all.
Who are you talking about?
I live in Sims Township and everybody is very scared.
Yeah, that's what I
Like
understand.
he's saying, what you have in your yard, they're being very particular. It's not driving by and seeing a bunch of junk. It's people whose wood piles are covered with a tarp. So, that being said, they're nitpicking. It's not, there's no gray area.
Yeah,
you know
and see,
what
and
I'm
that's
saying?
what we want to avoid is.
I don't-
It's gonna be very hard for the
It's
board
gonna be,
because-
yes.
I don't like that approach at all.
No, and he probably gets 1,000 phone calls. I mean, it's neighbor against neighbor. It's
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't
Yeah,
like your
that we
neighbor,
don't
they're
want.
calling.
That's what's gonna happen.
That is exactly what
Yeah.
happens.
That's not the point of this board or the direction we want to go.
Okay, so in this case, with that, and these other ones I want to bring forward, just these are my impressions of these, on these different parts, is that these are things that have to either be reworked or something before I would approve. I mean, that I would vote for approval. Okay, do you want to hear the other ones?
Sure.
Yeah, because these are, another one is now on H, next page over, which has, and this is something that we've talked at the zoning, for our actual zoning ordinance about, and I agree, Pat, it's really the wording that does it. I mean, which is elusive in a lot of instances, you know, of that, but here I'm talking about dead weeds, grass, or brush, trash, debris. So I have, I have 10 acres, 5 acres of it that's to the south of me is just an open field, okay? Is this implying that I have to mow that? If somebody can say, hey, look at the weeds there, or something like that. I mean, it's a habitat for wildlife to me. And it's the same for the rest of my property. I mow around the, both sides of my oval driveway. I mow one swatch each, okay? And the rest of it grows up. I do not mow the center area because there are wildflowers there that are threatened. And then I mow up by my house, and that's all that I do. And actually my neighbor does it for me now because I can't do it anymore. So I'm concerned in this instance, this is one of my other concerns in here, is this calling out of dead weeds, grass, brush, refuse, all that. I can understand what is, as being called a public nuisance. Okay? So and then I'll just keep going forward because I have that. The next one is on section 4. I mean, on these other ones, I don't have any issues. And I mean, on section 4, it has to do with the vacant structures of having to be securely locked. That's an issue that I have, is that it's saying it's unlawful for any person to keep or maintain a blighted or vacant structure, dwelling, garage, outbuilding, or that unless it is kept securely locked and the windows glazed. Okay, I have a broken down garage that I mean, the structure is still usable, so I get away with. It's in another instance where if it's still under use. I think it's down here. So, this concerns me about the locks. Is somebody going to be able to go and say, hey, we noticed that you don't lock your front door? I mean, that's pretty intrusive for personal, you know, how I choose to live, or somebody chooses to live that doesn't, you know, who doesn't have a lock on their door. And for this to call that out, so there's another one of my concerns.
You made a good point. All these vacant fields that have grown up in grass, would we enforce them or would we force them?
I
Might as well
think,
live in a subdivision or in the
I think
suburbs.
that's covered in the zoning ordinance, because we talked a lot, not we, you did, the planning commission did, about, you know, how can in a, like, when your neighbor doesn't mow his lawn because he's not there only 2 times during the summer, somebody's neighbor, okay? And yet you find that offensive. And that was in Lakeshore Residential that we did, or residential, I can't remember exactly, but we did define there to a certain height and everything, didn't we?
I believe so.
So-
I don't have the ordinance in
No, and
front
I
of me,
think
but I
that,
believe
but I'm
there
thinking,
was.
because I do remember the discussion.
But in this instance, also, possibly we can put in there for a public nuisance in reference to the trash, the debris, so on and so forth, the weeds, the grass.
Yes.
Put it like so many feet from
very
the
well did
structure
that, yeah.
on back, that has to be cleaned.
'Cause
I know that other townships have that in their ordinance. Like
There's certainly
whether it
things
be
that-
6 feet or 10,
right.
or not 6 feet, 10 yards or whatever, you know.
Because I'm not necessarily saying strike this, I'm just bringing up the ones that where the wording could be changed to be allowable, okay, good, we're good there. Okay, so the next one I have is on enforcement. I would tend to, this has to do with the notification by first-class mail. Let me see, it's enforcement number 5, I gotta find it.
That's what has to be done.
Where is it? Shall give notice to the person by filing notice. Notice shall be in writing and shall be served upon the person at the option of the enforcement by posting a copy of notice on his land, a structure, in addition, copy of notice. Okay. In addition, halfway down the paragraph, in addition to tagging, okay, or whatever, the copy of the notice shall be sent first-class mail to the owner of the land at their last known address. I think that should be a certified mailing, because there's no way to prove in court later whether that person got the mail or not. Okay.
So first-class certified
Well, it
mail?
could be, yeah, certified, it's just with the, yeah, yep. The first class can be certified. okay? And then,
Phones, okay? That's the use.
With the certified mail, it doesn't prove they got it because it goes into the automatic mail sorter, but if you do return receipt, the real green card.
that's, yeah, I guess I should use with
Certified return
return
receipt.
Then
receipt,
they'll
yeah,
actually have
thanks,
to sign
Gary.
for it, you
Yeah.
know, and the mail carrier has to walk to their door.
Yeah, and that shows as signed on the UCAD, yeah, thank you for that, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Okay, and that was, I thought I had something else in there. Okay, knowledge of the receipt, notice of failure to remedy the violation within 30 days from the date of mailing shall result in the issuation of a violation notice. Knowledge would support within 10 days receipt of notice. How do I have 10 days in here?
What's county doing in terms of this wedding?
I'm not sure that, I thought I got, for some reason I have 10 days written on my note.
I wondered if it wasn't there.
I think the original one may have been 10 days.
10, that's probably where I
And we
got
went
it.
with 30 days.
Yeah,
And the
which is-
planning committee,
Yep.
when we were
Yeah,
talking
changed
about
it.
it, because 10 days was not enough.
Yeah, okay, good.
And then at that time, a
A violation notice would be done, okay,
Yes.
all right. On number 6, I have under the appeal, is that it is just the this is just a theory. If somebody came in, they get their, something gets tagged on their property, they come in to talk to us, would they still have to do something in writing? Would a physical appearance and, you know, in protestation of whatever is going on be sufficient as required to, I mean, are we gonna require this resident to sit down and write us a letter after they came in and told us that they, you know, blah, blah, blah? Or do you wanna put like both of that in there?
Would they need a written appeal?
It says that the owner may appeal for a public hearing, which will, files providing the owner or occupant files a request in writing
Okay.
within 10 days. There's my 10
There you
days.
go.
There's my 10 days. I got the 10 days.
Oh,
I see where I got the 10 days. I got it from this paragraph, so I just wanted, that's just a suggestion, is somebody coming right in the next day, say, well, I wanna appeal this. Do we just tell them they have to write us a letter?
just a moment, I'm reading it.
Yep, okay.
Maybe you have like a little form, like an appeal form.
Otherwise, if they didn't do something in writing, what would be the proof of the conversation when they come in?
Right.
Okay, yep. All right, I agree with that. Okay, I'll go with that. I just read public appearance.
Request in writing is right there.
Yeah,
Right.
that is in there. And that's within 10 days of the receipt of the
Right.
notice. That was the reason, that was what tipped me with the fact that the first class mail, if you didn't know that they got it, when does the timing start? Know what I mean?
And you know, it would be proof for them and proof
Yes.
from us.
So if they
came
appeared
in.
in public, we would have them just fill out a form here and there. So, okay, all right, thank you for that. I'll cross that one. The last one I have is on penalties. Punishable by fine not to exceed $100. So here's my scenario. So each day a violation of this ordinance is continued or permitted to exist without compliance shall constitute a separate offense, punishable upon conviction in the manner prescribed. So somebody has a wood pile, they work out of town, they get, you know, or whatever. They're unable to find somebody to chuck the wood pile for them so that they can get away with not being violated, but it takes a week to get somebody to do the work. So are they being charged $100 a day for the violation? That's what it seems to read like to me.
What's the way it's implied.
So that's just something that needs to be talked about, corrected, or whatever, because,
Can I make a comment?
yeah, you
Sure,
should butt right in.
absolutely.
You shouldn't have to
Okay.
ask.
You're finding someone $100 a day, who doesn't have the resources to get this stuff cleaned up in the first place. It doesn't make much sense.
It's not $100 a day, it's $100
For the violation.
for the violation.
Oh, okay, not
Okay,
$100.
no.
Okay.
That
No,
would-
it's just, I've interpreted it that way because of what it says about.
No.
Okay,
That
so
is
that just needs to be clarified.
$100.
So I'm gonna have $100 per. Okay, so, and then it goes on to
Per.
say.
Yeah.
Per violation.
Not to
Per
exceed
offense or
$100,
per-
period.
Yeah.
Right.
Not to exceed $100, period.
And the
I mean, am I reading it
imprisonment not to
wrong?
exceed 90 days or both. And that time, that would already have gone to court.
Yes, it
Yeah.
would, yes.
So.
In order to
Well,
have
then it
somebody.
wouldn't be
put
up
in
to
jail.
us, would it? It would be
The
up to the court, wouldn't
penalties,
it?
the penalties are not totally up to us. I mean, it is as far as the $100, okay, for us to penalize them. But when you go to court and everything, the court oversees and supersedes our ordinance as they see fit.
Yep,
It's just that we have to word it somehow for a beginning for that.
right.
Like a starting
Okay,
point.
yes, correct. And then, I mean, it's up to the judge to decide what he
Sure.
or she decides the implications are going
Yeah,
to be.
and I think that does it for me. So, so is it, do you agree that the wording about the continued deprivation shall constitute a separate offense? I mean, I don't understand what that means then, if, okay, they have, you know, obviously you want some kind of a time limit for them to fix the violation. But
Sure, absolutely.
what does constitute a separate offense for each day? What was the point, I
Where
guess?
each
If-
day,
if
where
we
is
go-
that?
If we
It's
end
the
up in court,
second sentence at the bottom of page 3.
okay,
I mean, second sentence of the paragraph under section 7 penalties, the bottom
Each
of
day
3.
that a violation.
Each day that a violation
The ordinance is continued or permitted to exist without compliance shall constitute a separate offense.
Yep.
The man prescribed in this
Upon conviction, that would be back in court then.
It would be
Right.
upon conviction, but I just don't understand what's trying to be said there, so that's,
Well-
I'm just sorry, that's just something that I have to go for, and then my very last
And
one.
all of, every single ordinance that I looked at had that particular wording in. And our lawyer did look this over also.
Okay, then I would need a clarification from him, what he's trying, what does that
Yeah, and maybe
mean?
that's something that he
Yeah,
needs
so I
to
gotta
clarify
stop.
again.
Yep, I agree. Okay, the very last issue on this one I have is the removal by the township. I just wondered if, and like I said, I know Eppert has seen this, but I was questioning whether if the owner and the occupant of such premises shall not cause such material in violation of this ordinance, meaning take care of whatever it was that the problem was, that was as described above, to be eliminated or removed within 30 days or after notice or within 30 days after the decision of the township board in case they appeal, okay? It says township supervisor will direct a person or persons to remove or eliminate at their cost and expense, whatever the deal was. That gives us that it's saying that if 30 days expires, the appeal is denied or they don't appeal, then we are all of a sudden have the right to go on their property and take stuff away. And I questioned that as something that I wanted the attorney to say, yes, that this document would give us that right. I just questioned whether that was actually legal to trespass on somebody's property, take their chattels and go.
I don't think we can.
That's what I thought. I'm not sure that that's possible to
I
actually
think the
do.
Fourth Amendment to the Bill of Rights protects them from
Something
that.
like that. I think it would have to go to,
Unlawful seizure.
I think it would have to go to court before, and then the court would have to say somebody could go on there and take it away,
Exactly.
not just the township supervisor.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense, Pat?
Yeah, and I think that's something maybe we should have the lawyer look into
That's what I was
on,
thinking
as
too,
this
so.
section 8
Yep.
also.
Okay, that's all I have on there. I know there was a lot, but then there were a lot of things that I had to Okay. And I have this, if anybody wants a copy. These were my notes about it. That I
Okay.
typed up, so that I knew so I could remember what I had to talk about. Okay.
I went through the master plan, and one of the comments was, leave it alone. People mind their own business. Taxpayers should be able to do what they want with their own property within the law. Well, within the law.
There you go. There's the pivotal point.
Yep. 61% of the respondents complained about the blight in that last master plan survey. So that's our guide.
That's half of the township, more than
Yeah.
half.
But only 26% of the respondents lived in the township. They were seasonal or second homes.
Oh, interesting.
Well, they're still paying taxes and they have
They're
a right
still
to their
paying
opinion.
taxes.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
Can't vote here.
Yeah, which is a shame as far as I'm
I
concerned.
agree.
So, all right.
Okay, I'm
Move
gonna
on.
sit back. Anybody else that wants to go over that stuff, and then if not, I've got a page on the junk cartridge.
Okay.
Okay.
I agree with a lot of you're getting problems with the ordinance. It's just really hard to figure out, and it's really something that's really
It's-
subjective, and like,
That's exactly,
every situation is unique. you know?
Yep.
You can apply,
So who decides? Do you have somebody like the gentleman in Sims Township? That, you know, is apparently, you, even if the ordinance isn't there, it's on the onus of the property owner to defend them, you know, and I've heard horror stories, so.
Horror stories, yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's gonna be very hard for you guys as
Yeah.
a board to have to enforce this on your neighbors, because every one of you is gonna have a different opinion on what you think it is.
Right.
Like in ours, you can own a camper, you can own a chunk of property, but you cannot have that camper on that property for more than so many days.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So you have people that have property, buy a camper, put it there, get fined for it.
Sure.
You know?
my approach is I'd rather help my neighbor.
Right, right, but where do you draw the line, like she
Yeah,
said, with
exactly.
money? Are you guys
Exactly.
physically gonna go there yourselves and help, or is the community gonna step up and help? Who's renting dumpsters, who's,
Exactly, those are the things we've been juggling, you know,
Yeah.
try to
It's a
figure out
lot.
how can we satisfy somebody who's complaining against somebody who won't do anything about it? You know, and if we go on, I mean, you know, we don't necessarily have the right, even if we're doing it as a group that, you know, is coming to say, we're going to help clean up your yard because you're in a wheelchair, you know, or something and everything. You've got liability, you've got, you know, all of a sudden you've got somebody gets cut. I mean, there's so many ramifications
insurance.
to think that, exactly.
Yeah, then just put your wildflowers.
That was the idea of, that we would have these dumpsters here to
Yeah.
clean up the township. And so far, it's worked very well.
but if somebody doesn't have access to a truck, or there's not somebody that.
Good
can help,
point.
You got it.
Then, you know,
Yeah. And some people have taken advantage of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I've seen people from Standish that live in Standish. come
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
oh, yeah, we know that.
Sure,
Well, at least it's not in somebody's yard then.
right.
I mean, if the yards are gonna be, if it's that bad, we're like, say, the 5 of you say, okay, yeah, this is horrendous, this yard is crazy. Then that's the part of, okay, is there a safety issue where adult protective services should be involved in the
Yeah.
safety of their health? And, you
Sure.
know, it's not about the yard now, it's about how these people are living and,
Right.
you know.
Maybe it could be a unanimous decision, the board, or everyone has to agree.
Back on that too, getting other, like the health department and stuff like that involved. You really don't get too far with those either, you know, so,
There's probably more people than anybody realizes living in very.
Yes, very, yes.
And the people
Exactly.
of wealth don't seem to understand.
You drive, well, Penny and I go around the roads to make an inspection occasionally, well, at least once a year, and make notes of what the situations are like. And you're right, there are some people that are really in dire straits in this township.
Is there any chance of getting any help for public housing in the township? Has they ever applied for anything like that?
Well, one of the requirements they look for is water and sewers.
I see.
That's been the downside.
That's-
Power was also, and except now that we're getting upgraded, you know, and everything, that's something we think of
It's
without
also-
sewer.
Yeah.
So without sewer and public water, you know, and public water, that's.
It's also
I can't
restricted the
think
chance of commercial growth as well.
Yeah, I'd love to see sewer and stuff come in, but you can imagine the cost.
It's an unfortunate situation, but it's what we have to live with.
Well, I just saw a Zoom meeting from Eagle, how important having the wetlands and keeping them wetlands, you know, not coming in and filling them in. And,
Yeah. Eagle considers all Gray Township all wetland.
yeah.
Pretty much is.
Yeah, it is.
You
Where you
think
go.
so, but then you go, well, I should say floodland. A lot of it's not floodland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They
it's
think it's
wetland.
wetland also.
yeah.
All right, let's move on.
So
Go ahead, Pat.
on the blight,
Yep.
you know, I know we all have concerns and how this is going to go into effect. And we're not trying to scare anyone. We're trying to get our community just a little bit brighter and to have everybody possibly just even organize some of these properties. In no way, I'm sure, it's none of our idea to have somebody, you know, move out of this community because we're giving them such a hard time. That shouldn't be, you know, but we can't continue with an ordinance that's from 1992.
Exactly, yeah.
We have to update it, and that's what we're trying to do here, is just to update. And as the commissioner, we went through many ordinances, put together, you know, what we thought needed to be, and go from there.
Yeah, you guys worked on it all summer.
I don't think the blight ordinance is in a position right now to be forwarded to the next regular board meeting.
No, I wouldn't say so.
So we
somebody wants a
have
motion
to
to try to
have
put it
a
past.
different, another special meeting on that then?
Yeah, we're gonna have to see down the road. We'll have to be after our annual meeting.
We're gonna have
with all
to
the other
refer-
stuff coming in, but that's the only way we can, it's the only thing we can do.
A couple of these items have to be referred back to the
It's a
attorney.
lawyer,
Yes,
yeah.
and if there was something that was just straightforward or something like that, and we would, basically the process would be to send it back to the planning commission to, you know, take care of it and then give it back to us. With the marijuana ordinance, there was a lot of back and forth, you know, and that, so, but, you know, these points that I have are things that we should address.
Right.
I mean, I should say, so. Okay, but can we move forward, or you got more on the blight? Pat?
Nope,
You
that's
good?
all I have.
I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay, anybody else want to start?
Everybody's good then?
Because if not, I got another
Do we
list.
need a motion?
No.
No, we're just gonna table it, motion to table, I guess.
Okay.
Well, we can do
Maybe
that.
we should do that.
We need a
Okay.
motion to table the
I'm gonna
blight
make a
ordinance.
motion to table the blight ordinance.
Until reviewed by the attorney?
For
Yeah,
further
I'll do
discussion,
that.
Yeah, for further discussion.
For further-
including,
Including
the
refer,
attorney.
Change, language changes.
including,
Including the attorneys.
attorney's opinion.
Yes,
Right.
that's good. I can think of it, I can't write it fast. Okay, I made the motion.
All right.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, board. All right, number 8.
Okay, now the one that we're looking at, of course, is what I just called junk car. I know that we have to reword it and everything, and I know that, but didn't Epper call it abandoned vehicle?
Right.
That was how he referred
Correct,
to it all the
and
time.
we reworded it as
Who
dismantled.
on the board is qualified to determine whether it's junk or not?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know, did you think that was valid, that change of wording, or
Yeah,
does that pick?
I like it how it is.
Sounds good to me. then.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what the planning commission did back then, so I didn't know that. I have,
The unregistered vehicles, Michael, was an instance, but that we had talked about in the planning committee. It's not just how I like it.
no,
but,
I need, no,
The unregistered vehicles kind of had to be in a class of its own
okay,
because of the discussions that we had.
okay, works for me. So, in the paragraph of what's involved here, I question house trailers. As be considering how could the house trailer be a junk vehicle as compared to like a bladed structure?
Where are you at?
This is right in the middle of right here,
Right in the beginning.
right there, in your description of what this ordinance is all about.
Okay, so this particular ordinance came directly from,
From Epper, yes, I should have
Our
said that right
attorney.
at first, because that is important to know, that the,
and this was his suggestion.
okay. So, I'm just curious how
And
often.
house trailers, yes, we have a lot of people that live in single wides, double wides. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
They're very nice looking. And I think he's talking here as the house trailers when they've been abandoned.
Okay.
Or if they're falling in, or
Sure.
the roof has holes in it and nobody's living in there.
Yeah.
That's
gotcha.
what he's
We do have a
talking
few of
about.
those.
We do.
Yeah, okay, all right, that was just clarification, thank you. Okay, and then overall, my main issue is this. The fact that this ordinance requires that all these vehicles being towed about have to be, here it's in definitions of motor vehicles, including tractor, trailers, house trailers, all-terrain vehicles, snowmobiles, trailers of any sort, including recreational vehicles, boats, jet skis, and other vehicles, must be licensed by the Secretary of State. I don't see how, and I understand what a bunch of junk cars in somebody's yard means, but this requiring of here will bankrupt the township. If you have to go to court to everybody and say, and to take them to court to say, you need to license all those vehicles, or your vehicle, or your second vehicle, or people who have a vehicle because they have one car only, it's an old car, and they got this other car from somebody that has been sitting in their yard, parked nicely against a shrub, but it's not tagged, and they have to get insurance and tagging on that, I don't see how it is possible. That's my main issue with the whole thing.
And I suggest that the lawyer look at that then for us.
Yeah, because we talked about, Dwayne brought up about the fact that there are a lot of poor people in the thing. I would have loved to have had my garage fixed, but I couldn't afford the shingles to do it. If I have that's obviously the other ordinance, but I do have a car in my thing that my neighbor is supposed to be towing away to get it out of there, but it's been there for years. I used it for storage. Nobody's complained. To me, it wasn't an eyesore, but the idea that I would have to tag and insure, I can't pay my insurance bill for my car that I drive now, and it's due like next month. So it's not like poor pity me. There are a lot of people like me in this township, and this requirement of all those kinds of vehicles that have to be tagged in order to meet this ordinance is it's unfathomable. So the rest of my little things have to do with a lot of that same part. So I had brought up at the planning commission meeting, actually it was Cotter, member of the planning commission, Robert Cotter, and who asked a question about their son being in the military.
Right.
And his car is untagged and being stored at his house. And wouldn't there be some kind of some kind of acknowledgement or understanding for somebody that is serving the country, but has left his car at dad's house because, you know, he's not gonna be able to, he's not driving it and he's not insuring it or tagging it. I mean, that's just one example of
And
that.
who's going to investigate all these?
Yeah.
What about this and what about that and what about this guy and what about that lady? Yeah,
I
who's
get
gonna
the-
do that?
I get the overall thing this was the attorney's suggestion, was to separate what I keep calling junk cars from the blight ordinance, which is in here, in this current, or what's valid right now talks about vehicles in here. And it was his admonition, his suggestion, and for reasons in due process in court, to have two ordinances do it. And that's why you guys, Pat did all the work. She got all these different ordinances from different things, and they put all this together for the planning commission did. And that's how we have it now, but.
The money we would spend on this, I think, could be better used for
The roads.
roads, ditches, and what have you.
Again, though, I think everybody's kind of, I'm sorry, but I think everybody's kind of getting too deep into this and missing the point. We need an ordinance in place for that person out there that has 50 vehicles on their property
Yes.
that are junk.
Right.
We need to have something so that we can
I
do
agree
something
with
about
that.
that problem.
I agree with
Not to
that,
pick
yeah.
on a person who has a vehicle that they're storing for their son who's in the army.
Sure.
That's not our point.
No, but the way it's worded now is.
But
But somebody
it
could.
doesn't matter how we would reword or word anything. Anyone can read whatever they want into that. We have to have a starting point. And that's what we're
I have
doing.
no problem with that, yep.
Yeah, that's true. And I know the situation you're referring to.
And I'm not referring to one in particular.
Wow.
You know, there's many around,
There are, yes.
you know, when I come to work in the morning and when I drive around, you know, to see what's going on in our community.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to pick on people per se. We want our community to look better, but we're not going to scare them out of our community either. We just have to have a starting point. And that's, I think, that why the lawyer said we need to take the vehicles out of the blight.
Yep.
And I totally agree with that.
That was, yeah.
It's a
because of the
totally,
court.
it's certainly two things. You have your junk and then you have
And you have
vehicles is
cars.
a
Yeah.
totally
That's a
different
different-
area.
Yeah.
But we have to have a starting point, and that's,
I don't-
anybody can read anything they want into anything, even if you are a person who is a member of POAM or the steelworkers or whatever. You know, those contracts, yes, they have a contract, but that's why they have committees that they have to go in front of to decipher, because everybody reads it differently.
Good point.
My concern is that it could be read in a way by a single individual, and then we would be required by adopting it to enforce that. That's my concern.
Okay.
I don't know how to, and it is,
And we
I've
can't-
said that before, that it's such it's a hard issue, it's a very hard issue, and I agree, there needs to be an ordinance. Okay, I mean, I definitely agree, I don't have any
And we
condition
can't
with that.
pick and choose who we enforce it on.
Right.
Everybody has to be treated
Yeah.
fairly.
Yeah,
Right.
so,
That was one thing on the, it says that you guys are gonna go by your discretion, the board's discretion on enforcing these. So
We can't do that. It would have to apply to everybody.
Yeah, that's what I was
You can't
hoping.
pick and choose. It would have to apply to everybody.
And the board can change, so what was okay with this board, the next board.
It's still a matter of interpretation.
You know, so
Yeah.
you want to
Yes.
protect the public as much as you can.
okay, I'd like to go on with a couple
Sure.
of points.
Go
that I
ahead.
have,
Thank you,
okay, in
Michael.
my
I'm
thing,
sorry.
yes.
Sorry.
Because, no, I was, you're perfect, everybody has a vote, so. Okay, on There's the unreasonable burden definition to that part about the license insurance is in a couple of spaces, but yeah. Then I had that. What about, a lot of people have, this is probably picky. I was concerned about how the boats are included and, okay, when it talks about the violations and the timing that you have of being notified and all that stuff, is that, so here's a scenario where you've got a person who has a boat, they no longer use it because they have health issues they had, and it's parked and winterized by their house, but it's up for sale and it doesn't sell for a lengthy time, like 2 years. So they're basically in violation because they're not tagging it, even though it's nice, it's petite, it's, beside their house, it's all that. That that basically was going back to the thing of everything having to be licensed. So really I guess, skip that one. These things were coming up. On violations in number 4, there's a confusing wording that I thought anywhere is, it has to do with new or used parts. Okay, so violation 4.1. It's on page 4, including recreational vehicles, boats, jet skis, the same phrase I use all the time, which I understand, that's the lawyer's phrase, as or used or any new used parts or junk therefrom shall be insured properly and registered, bearing appropriate licenses that are visible. I think it's just the wording seems to imply that loose parts have to be tagged, and I don't know that it's the way I'm just reading it. It says the entire sentence says, I think that's the thing, is that there's a break in the sentence isn't there, because I know what you're trying to say, but so that was one thing that I read that I just needed clarification. On 2, the timing here for, vehicles and trailers that are temporarily inoperable because of minor mechanical failure, which are not in any manner dismantled or have substantially all main component parts attached, may remain on the parcel or property for a period not to exceed 14 days. I just wonder about the timing. I mean, is that something we would pursue? You might have a part that it's very hard to get, and I don't know that that's just something whether that timing was date. Yeah, go on to go on the part in the timing is this next paragraph says you're not going to be allowed to repair, redesign, modify, or dismantle shall be allowed on a vehicle or trailer or parts thereof on any public right of way. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm reading down. Primarily used as own type of residence purpose for in excess of 24 hours. Okay, with fully enclosed buildings, down to the next 24 hours. Any such work within a 24-hour period heretofore shall not be allowed, however, consist of any major repair, redesigning, modifying, dismantling work. Only such occasional minor work as may be frequently required to maintain a vehicle, trailer, or parts are basically going to be allowed. And I just don't, occasional minor work. So is that changing?
Monitor that.
I'm not sure whether it's meant to go with this, the statement up above, any such work within such 24-hour period, which is what they're talking about up here, it's just, you can't, 24 hours is not enough time to get a part from the parts store and do the work. And they're saying, unless, of course, it's saying you're doing it within an enclosed building. So I think what the intent of the paragraph was on the public right of way,
Right.
not necessarily next to your garage or halfway in and out of your garage or whatever. So there was that question there. And because it is that, and what is minor work? Is that changing your brakes?
Who determines that?
Yeah, that's something. Again, this is coming from the lawyer. And then, so it's not any slap on anyone. The last thing I have has to do with the penalty. On page 5, section 6. Fine shall set forth the violation of the ordinance shall, okay, this is ordinance may be enforced by civil infraction, misdemeanor, comply with the provisions set forth in the civil infraction ordinance. Fine shall set forth for violations of the ordinance shall not be less than 100, not more than 500. And I was just curious, how is that decided? Is that something that the court is doing? Or is that something we have some sort of written scale of the offense? To me, that seemed vague and up to the whim of the OEO is what I was thinking it could,
Yeah.
that it could be read as.
I think that would be dependent on the court though.
I'm not sure because the civil ordinance, the fine that we first give them is.
We can't assess a fine.
That's true, okay. So that would be, you're right. The civil infraction ordinance, that is, the fine is figured after it goes to court. Was that the intention, Pat? Or you gotta read it again, probably.
No, that's what I took it as that would be something that the judge would be
Would go ahead and-
sentencing, and we're just giving
We're giving it so
them-
that it's not out, yeah, because I know it was set somewhere, I think in
Right.
here where it was real high for first offense, and I
Right.
remember you argued against that.
Right,
because
and,
we're
yeah, it
not
was-
trying to, we just want people to shape
It was
up.
500, and we had changed
Yeah, on the
that
That's right.
original.
Okay,
on the
all right.
original, yes.
Okay, thank you for that.
And we had changed that to 100.
And then the last question I have is, the bottom of the page, township has a location where vehicles are to be towed to. And where is that?
So, are you on page 6?
I'm on page 5 of 7.
Okay, and that, I had a couple of changes on to Michael.
Okay,
So when a vehicle is normally towed, it is towed to, we're not going to have a place here,
okay,
but the particular towing companies have their own towing
right,
yards.
I remember the discussion, yeah.
So, and that was one change that I had on page 6,
I see where you put in
where it
storage
says, yes, towing and
and
storage.
Okay,
So, that would be on the individual themselves. And that's how it normally works if there's a vehicle that's left on the side of the road for a
Sure.
24-hour period or more, that the officers tag,
and they contact somebody
right,
to
and
drive
that
it
the
away.
towing and the storage is up to the owner
It's up to
themselves.
the owner. Wherefore, at a
Yeah.
time such a notice provides a matter that 3 days after tagging. I wondered if that was enough to respond. Now, if it's on a right of way or something, obviously the police can do that. But so at the top of page 6, wherefore at the time in which a notice is to be provided as the matter is that 3 days after tagging, I guess my question there is, what if the person works out of town? And I mean, is 3 days enough? Is 3 days enough notice if it's, like I said, if it's in the right of way, fine, yeah, it needs to come off the road. But if the tagging, or is that all this paragraph is about? Is when they're in the right of way?
We wouldn't be doing the tagging.
Yeah,
if it was in
that
the
wouldn't be up
right-of-way.
to us, that would be up to the sheriff department
Yeah.
to handle that, that's out of our
Yeah.
Okay,
jurisdiction.
right, so this 3 days after the tagging.
So
would be
some
when
of-
they be
yeah.
towed. Got it, okay, works for me.
That would be handled by the sheriff.
Because I was concerned with it, some residents that might have, I guess in pairing this with the fact that somebody might be going around and saying, wait, you don't have a tag here, that's not licensed to do that, and start attacking people with this ordinance, that 3 days wouldn't necessarily be enough notice for people that were not summer people. Or were only summer people.
In
So-
regards to this ordinance, I think I would have been in violation by having that trailer in my driveway.
Yes,
It's what I.
yep, I thought of using that as an example.
Yeah. I
Saying
had
that
a
you had
fifth
the
wheel trailer in my driveway.
Yep.
But
So-
it wasn't inoperable, was it?
No.
But it wasn't tagged.
But it
Oh, it
said
wasn't
there.
tagged, oh, it
It
wasn't
said
tagged
there.
because you hadn't used it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not,
And I think you see that in a lot of, you see that a lot. I mean, where people have, they used to camp a lot and then they don't anymore, but they haven't gotten rid of it. They haven't moved on. You don't want to get rid of it. Maybe one day we will go back.
Maybe
All
your
your
grandkids have
memories
sleepovers.
are
Around
there,
there,
you
yes.
know.
But I would have been in violation.
That's all I got, Pat.
We have a quick thing with the tags. I mean, you don't have to have a tag to have the vehicle on your property. That's not a law. You have to have a tag to take the vehicle on the road. Or, so I have 2 vehicles. I was a mail carrier. You were required to have 2 vehicles. One was unregistered because I wasn't using it, but I had to have it as a backup because if I had to switch, but like, you don't have to have a tag to keep it.
But this ordinance would say you do.
Right, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And
Yeah.
there's so many people that have stuff that's just been sitting there for a long time, RVs or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. So,
I have a camper, that I'm working on it. I don't plan to take it on the road.
When I was in the service, my car sat in my parents' driveway for a couple of years before they finally sold it. And they would have been in violation.
yep.
This whole ordinance is a little bit vague, and a lot of it, we did not, as the planning committee, nix a lot of it just because it came from the lawyer, but my suggestion is to send this ordinance back to the planning committee
Okay.
Okay,
and really look it over and only put in what is particularly needed in our township.
Good suggestion.
And then maybe
Yeah.
send it to the lawyer at that point, after we are done.
Let's see what he has to say about it. Yep.
yep, good point.
So
So
can we
I'm
take that
making
as a
a-
motion,
A
Pat?
motion?
Yes, all right, we
Okay.
have a
To
motion,
send back to the planning commission for
further review. All
analysis or further, yep. Okay, and I'll go ahead and I'll second the motion.
right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, board. Short-term rental.
Okay, go ahead, Pat, you're on.
Do you want me to take it?
Yeah.
Yep, might as well.
Okay, in reference to the short-term rental and the anti-noise ordinances, we had 2 of those. We did send them directly to the lawyer for him to look them over, and he came and spoke at one of our meetings. His suggestion, because everything is so up in the air as far as short-term rentals for the state, and the state cannot get their laws in order at this point either. He suggested that we not put either one of these into place. As far as the short-term rental, there are other laws that need to be defined first. We really, in this township, don't have a problem with our short-term rentals. We just don't. The ones that have the short-term rentals are very up to snuff on having their rules or their regulations and who they're staying there, and we just don't have any complaints. If there is a complaint or whatever, that particular portion is not taken care of by the board. It is taken care of by the sheriff department. As far as the anti-noise ordinance, he suggested the same, is not to put anything into to play, because that opens up the township for liability. And he stated it is not anti-ordinance, it is, what did he state?
Public nuisance.
Public nuisance. And that would have to be taken care of by the sheriff department. That puts the liability back on them, that they need to contact, if there is anything public nuisance, noise, whatever, they would have to call the sheriff department, and that's at that point where the sheriff department would take care of that problem. Whereas if it was called in as a noise complaint ordinance, then the sheriff department has nothing to do with that. They don't even have to respond. So
I'd like to add that one of the examples that the attorney gave us was the fact that being able to prove anything with noise, to go to court with a noise thing it's so extremely expensive because you have to have a licensed, dedicated, you have to have a machine that could cost $30-some thousand, and then you have to have an operator that does that can be trusted by the court to say this is accurate information. It can't be a decibel meter that you're holding out in your hand or anything like that. So you're talking $30,000 to $40,000 to pursue one court thing. And so said, nope, that is not our interest to spend money on that kind of thing. So.
How about
Thanks,
the
Brad.
last meeting, there was a guy in here that he was talking about cottages, seasonal cottages where, you know, nobody lives there for weeks, let's say, and he wanted to maybe rent like an Airbnb. Does that pertain to that also, or?
I'm not sure, is that something?
We've
We've
had a short-term rental on Bay Ridge Drive for what, 10, 15 years now? Quite a while. It's well-maintained. I haven't heard of any issues with that.
Other than maybe a canoe going down the canal that they didn't tie up right,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But we haven't had any issues.
Yeah, but that's in our township, but I've, talked to different people, and usually if somebody comes in and rents, let's say your cottage for a couple days, it's party time. Who wants to put up with that?
And again, that goes as a public nuisance and goes to the sheriff department. You need to complain to them, not the township.
There too, I thought about, well, maybe they ought to be taxed more.
Well, you can't do that.
We can't, yeah.
Can't do that?
Unfortunately, no, we can't do that.
Wouldn't it be like a business?
No, they are not considered as businesses. So anyone can rent out their house. There's probably about 60% of our housing, maybe not 60, but
Probably not that much, but.
yeah,
A
not
good
that much, but
percentage.
there
Not
are
that
a
I'm
good
gonna do it, I
percentage
just
in
wondered.
our community that are rentals. Not only a rental for a weekend, but a rental for a month or a rental for a year.
Some people rent their houses out while they
Not
go to
everyone
Florida.
owns a home. And that's up to the homeowner themselves. And if there is a public nuisance, then that goes to the sheriff department and that's taken up with the homeowner themselves and with whoever's staying there.
Good luck getting the sheriff to come out.
And it's something that the board, we can't be taking complaints for the sheriff department. That's not why we're here.
You're not gonna get up in your jammies at midnight to go.
It's not
Yeah.
I'm not an officer of the law. There's nothing that I can do about it.
But I've seen our sheriff department too. I had an accident over on my corner, and it happened in the morning sometime, and they didn't get there till the afternoon.
Yeah, they're very
You
slow.
know?
Yeah.
And again,
That's an issue with them.
that's issue with them. That has to go to their commissioners, not to us.
On weekdays, they only have one sheriff on duty at night, so after 6 PM. So good luck, So I had a thing with the rentals next door. People were blasting off fireworks at 10 PM at night, 11 PM at night, and this was not near the 4th of July. These were just renters that came up and they were just having a good time. They had to call the sheriff. They wouldn't have got there, and if they would have, they wouldn't have got there in time. It would have been nice, all done, So it puts people that live there actually in a weird spot, because what are you supposed to do? The township won't do anything, the sheriff's not gonna do anything, so these people can just come up and party and do whatever they want. Most of them are not that bad, but there are the people that do rent to come up and be like, yeah, we're here, we're on vacation, we're getting away from the city.
Yeah, township
Oh,
can't go
party
and tell
time.
somebody what
No.
they can do in their own yard or their own house, regardless if they're renters or normal people.
Falls
That's
on the
not-
homeowner to
Yeah, it's the
enforce the rules.
homeowners to enforce the rules, not them.
So,
I make a motion that we take the short-term rental and the anti-noise ordinance off of the table.
Okay.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and we have support to take the short-term rental and noise ordinance off the table. Any further, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for bringing that up.
Board comment.
I'm talked out.
All right.
Me too.
I appreciated this and
yeah.
being able to talk about it because we don't all agree on everything. And it's nice to be able to talk things out and kind of, I like to hear somebody else's opinion and think about it because maybe they're right and the way I was thinking wasn't quite right. So I appreciate this.
I like also their opinions.
Yes,
Too.
yeah.
Well,
Because we're here for you guys, really.
exactly.
That's what we were elected for.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it helps form a good, reasonable result. The input from the public has been helpful, the board comments, so now we know we have a path to go and so. All right, any more board comment? Public comment? I appreciate everybody coming.
Yeah, really. Thanks for coming out. Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, I got a couple comments. So I used to teach at Western Michigan University. So I agree roundtable discussion ways is the best way for people to learn and exchange ideas. Having a format where the board just sits there and talks and no one can talk or you can't interject or it's a discussion and we're discussing these ideas. I think that's the best way to make these things happen for sure. And then the second thing would be, there's two types of people that have houses in this township. There's PREs and there's people that don't live here. For example, Beverly Olson's property, she's got 5-6 vacant houses. The windows are smashed out. She's not coming up here to do anything ever, okay? So what are we gonna do? You don't need a blight ordinance to go after these things. These are vacant houses with windows smashed out. Michael, the house next to yours, there's a few on Manor Road. I mean, these are health and human hazards. I mean, there's nothing about it. There's no debate. It's not even a thing. So are we gonna go after some of these?
But whose responsibility is that?
It's whoever's paying the taxes and you guys can take over that
No, but I
property.
mean, whose responsibility is it to monitor, to get them to do something?
It's a state law.
Well, then maybe the state police should be called or someone other than
Well, I've been coming to you guys for over 4 or 5 years about these houses next to my house. It's drawing my property value down. It's drawing all the property values down on our road.
I have a commitment from Mrs. Olson to have those buildings taken down this year.
Okay, I heard you. Yeah, but that's just one example. There's many more like that. So it's like, these are big deals, you know? More so than someone having an unregistered car in their yard, someone having a house that's, the windows are smashed out, the doors are wide open, the roof's caved in and no one's coming, hasn't been there in 25 years and no one's coming back. I think those should be priority in our township over someone's unregistered car. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank
Aye.
you, board. Thank you, public. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for letting me sit in.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime. You're always welcome here.
Today. It's on you guys go on the website, so we keep it posted on there.
I don't do that.
Keep that in there, I think you had that before. That's the blight ordinance that